So today I'm going to speak about, in brief, about mental health and psychological well-being, what it is, what it includes, and what can actually enhance our psychological well-being. I will also present to you some of the warning signs, which you can, for example, when I talk, you can always think about yourselves and your students, whether you can see those signs that tell that there is a beginning of mental illness or mental issues, health issues. Then later, I will also speak about a bit on one of the crises that we are all encountering, that is stress among teachers. I'll present to you some statistics about mental health, local and global, as well as I will also say some of the research studies that tell how stressed our teachers are these days and what causes this stress. And I'll give you finally some tools, some real life tools to immediately reduce your stress, which you know them already, but you do not know maybe the scientific research that is done, why it is so helpful. So that would be my presentation for today. If you have any questions, if I'm too fast, you can just raise your hand and stop and ask me. And if you need more details, you can meet me personally. And yeah, that's it. That is going to be the overall view of the presentation today. When we talk about health, when I ask you what is health, what definition do you give me? Casually, you might relate to me saying, health is absence of illness, right? Health is absence of any illness. If I have no fever, no headache, no cancer or such type of issues, then that means I'm a healthy person. But when it comes to mental health, it is not just the absence of mental illness, but it is much more. You know what? It is a state of being that you and I realize in our own potentials, in our own abilities, that you and I are able to cope up with the normal stresses of life. If you can work productively, if you can work fruitfully and be able to make substantial contribution to your community and to the world at large, that means you're psychologically sound, psychologically healthy. You got my point? Yeah. So that's why mental health includes not only certain issues, but it is broad. It includes your emotional well-being, your psychological well-being, your social and spiritual well-being. So mental well-being, it affects how we think, how we feel, and how we act and behave. That's the reason it is very, very important. One of the scientists in psychology, according to Riff, they describe like psychological well-being is defined as being completely satisfied with your own life. If you're satisfied the way you are right now, that means you are happy. I'll talk much more about this now. Like, what contributes exactly to the psychological well-being? The studies have proved there are 6 key elements. How many? 6 key elements that contributes to our psychological well-being. And one of the first one is self-acceptance. If you and I are able to accept myself the way I am, with all my strengths and limitations, if I'm able to accept my past life, my present context, and the future that I'm going to evolve into, then that would help me to enhance my psychological well-being. The second would be, if I'm able to create positive relations with others, that I'm able to relate to each other, build relationship, sustain and nurture them, that means I'm psychologically healthy person, psychologically functioning person. Fine? The third would be autonomy. Now, what does autonomy mean? Autonomy is nothing but that I'm able to make choices, decisions on my own. I'm responsible for my own life. So if there are any conflicts, if I'm only blinded by my traditions, my parents' decisions. I cannot stand on my own. That means I cannot enjoy my life. I cannot be happy. So if you want to be really happy, you need to be an independent person. Decide for yourself and make choices in your life and be happy with those choices and move forward in life. So that's what makes us psychologically healthy persons. Thirdly, a fourth point is competence. Competence is also known as environmental mastery. Now, what is this environmental mastery or competence? I am able to adapt to any given situation. If I'm able to adapt, now say for example, this COVID times, the situation, our environment is quite hectic and quite tensed and stressed. If I'm able to adapt to such changing environment, then I can also my mental health can be accurate. I can be psychologically a healthy person. Fifth point would be personal growth. So as I said, if you just accept what you are is not enough. Once you know these are my strengths, my limitations, now personal growth is nothing but how can become a better human being, evolve into a better human being. How can you make use of the opportunities that are given to you and develop your better person? That is what is said to be personal growth, and that actually contributes to your psychological well-being. Finally, purpose in life. All of us need to have some direction in life, some goals in life. If it is clear to you, this is what I want to be in life. If your goal is to be a happy individual, if your goal is to contribute to the society positively, if your goal is to build up the students' lives to make a better society, then yes, that helps you actually to be psychologically healthy and happy individuals. So, now why is mental health important? I have given you all the reasons. In short, I say it again. Mental health, if you have accurate, adequate mental health, it helps you to cope with the stresses. It helps you to be physically, emotionally, spiritually healthy person. You can enjoy relationships. You have no grudges, no jealousy, but you contribute positively to the relationship with your parents, siblings, your family, your staff, your colleagues here. With the children, you know how to nurture relationships. Finally, you can make meaningful contributions, work productively, and realize your potential. That's how much importance we need to give for our mental health and psychological well-being. Now, what can actually affect our mental health? Studies have shown that there are many aspects factors can affect our mental health. I will show you today just 4 broad factors that can actually affect our psychological well-being and mental health. Okay? The first one is biological factors. It can be your genes or chemicals in your brain, which you are out of your control sometimes because you are made of that. That's the reason sometimes if there are imbalances, chemical imbalances, and there are certain genes that actually can affect your mental health. Secondly, family history. If in your family, if you had a history of a person having depression, anxiety, paranoid, schizophrenia, if there were such things, you are more vulnerable to get mental illness. It's not that you will get, but you are more vulnerable to that. Thirdly, life experiences. Maybe your past life experiences or present life conditions, like trauma, like say abuse. Abuse can be of different types: emotional abuse, verbal abuse, sexual abuse, neglect. If you were being neglected in your past by your parents, not given sufficient love, this also can translate later into your life into mental disorders. That's the reason it's very important that we need to take care of our psychological well-being. Lastly, your lifestyle. If you are not taking care of your health, if your diet is in disorder, for example, you eat all junk food, if you do not do any physical activity, you lead a sedentary life, then if you use a lot of substances, maybe drugs, maybe alcohol, this all can affect your brain structures, and there can be chemical imbalances, and you are more prone to mental illnesses. So that's the reason. These are the main factors. Fine. Now, coming to the early warning signs. What could be some of the warning signs that tell me that I might develop a kind of mental illness or disorder? So we have to pay attention to these signs. For example, if you start sleeping too much or too less, sleep disorders. Or if there is a change in your appetite, you feel too hungry and you keep on eating and eating. Or you don't feel hungry at all, you start fasting and you lose weight. Okay, these are some of the signs. If your mood changes, maybe for a few days you are very happy, and suddenly the next week you become very sad. You don't talk to anybody. Okay, so such type of things. Or you may be withdrawing yourself, isolating yourself, locking yourself in the room. You don't interact with anyone. Or you find there is a drastic drop in your functioning, in your productivity. No, you're not able to contribute the way you used to do, the way you used to work. In your problems in thinking, you're not able to think straight, make decisions in life. Then that is another warning sign. There is increased sensitivity. For example, when you are working in the room, suddenly enters and you get startled at once. Earlier it used to not happen, but it happens now. Or suddenly your heart starts palpitating, you start sweating. Then yes, that is another sign. Apathy. Maybe in your environment, everybody is happy, they crack jokes and laugh, but there is no reaction whatsoever. You are blank, right? Then feeling disconnected. In the staff room, you start discussing, people are discussing, but you go out. You are there, you are traveling without ticket somewhere, you are not there. And it happens not only once, twice, thrice, it happens very often. That is a warning sign. Illogical thinking, you are not, again, straight in your thinking. Nervousness. Earlier you were very confident, courageous, but now anything, sister is asking you to present something, you start trembling. You want to go, say, to a city, you are scared to travel alone. So such type of nervousness when you see, then these are your warning signs. Unusual behavior. You start washing your hands 1,000 times per day, or you start, locking your doors, or cleaning the surface very often. Or nowadays you might also start disinfecting your hands every corner of your room. You become paranoid that virus will enter my body and kill me soon. So such type of unusual behaviors are the warning signs that something is not okay with me. I might develop a mental illness. Okay, now in short, these are some of I have just mentioned in this slide, some of the major psychological illnesses. We have mood disorders, major depressive disorders, bipolar, personality disorders, eating disorders, sleeping disorders. Stress is also a kind of, it can translate into post-traumatic stress disorder, PTSD it is called. Then you have bulimia, eating disorder, bulimia and anorexia, OCD, obsessive compulsive disorders, paranoia, schizophrenia, all these type of disorders we have. Now some statistics. How common is mental health in the world? Worldwide it is said 970 million have mental health and substance abuse disorder. This is the recent 2018. Now it might have really increased. And 284 million people have anxiety disorder. Globally, mental illness affects more females. So all the females here, take care of yourselves. It is also said 8 million deaths each year worldwide happen just because of mental disorders. More than corona deaths every year, imagine. It can be suicides, it can be different types. Schizophrenia deaths, different types, substance abuse. So all these come under mental illnesses. Now, 264 million people have affected by depression. alcohol used by 107 million people, 71 million people have drug use disorder, 46 million bipolar disorder, and 20 million are suffering from schizophrenia, and 16 million actually are affected by eating disorders. I hope none of us have such disorders. If you have, I'm here, contact me. Okay, now coming to India. Now, what is the situation in India? It is said 19.7 crore people had mental disorder in India in 2017. And it is said it is tripled now after coronavirus. And the World Health Organization has said that India by 2030 is going to experience another pandemic of mental illness if we don't take care. So we have a greater responsibilities, dear teachers, to help our students to be psychologically healthy and well-functioning. So responsibility lies in our hands. Yeah. The other thing I want to show through this slide is, see, we have so much mental illness issues, but the resources that are allocated for mental health resources is very limited by the government. And we do not have enough professionals. I just recently read that for 10,000 people in India, we have just 0.03 psychiatrists. Imagine. 0.03 psychiatrists, not even 3 psychiatrists for 10,000 people, right? And forget about psychologists and counselors. We are lagging behind, and we don't have good facilities to treat. So 75% of people with mental disorder do not receive any treatment. And every year, close to 3 million people die due to substance abuse. And you know what? Every 40 seconds, a person dies by suicide, more than coronavirus. It's an alarming situation. And about 50% of mental health disorders start by the age of 14. That young, that much stressful life has become for our students' children. So what we need to do, there is a lot of stigma associated with the mental health, mental illnesses. We need to eradicate that. So how do we do that? We have poor knowledge about mental illness. We have a lot of negative attitudes, that we think that it is evil spirit in that person has come, that's why he or she is not okay, or she or he has sinned a lot, that's the reason she is not okay here. That's how. Even the language that we use about mental illness, we laugh at people, don't we? Yes. And what do we say when we see a person passing by? Something gone wrong upstairs. See the language that we use. That shouldn't be. We have to stop such type of stigma, right? Now, how to reduce this stigma? So stop judging, first of all, and start healing. And how do? We must give equal importance to the physical health and mental health. What do? If we get little fever, don't we run to the doctor immediately? If we feel these warning signs, do we go? If somebody tells us that I am feeling not so okay, I'm feeling depressed, what do? You will be fine, keep quiet. This is normal. No, we don't take care. Or don't tell anybody you are experiencing this type. You are having such thoughts, that you are seeing people, you are hearing voices, don't tell anybody, keep quiet. So such type will not work. We have to discuss mental health concerns openly now. And educate yourself and your students and the family members about mental health issues. And do not label people or stereotype people. Instead, empower people. Show compassion and empathy towards them. And be positive mental health advocates. Be good role models. So that's how we can transform our society, having a positive outlook about mental illness and working towards it. Okay, now let's come to ourselves, teachers, educators. So, usually teachers are considered as the most important people on our planet, right? Why? Because we all determine the world's future, because we shape the future leaders, the future engineers, doctors, human beings. But what you know, I have a sad news for you. The research study shows that teachers are the most stressed out professionals. Are you happy with it? Okay, now you tell me who among you has never experienced stress? Raise your hands. Never in life has experienced stress. How many of you experience stress? Okay. All right, even me. I too have experienced stress. It is quite normal these days. But still, we are all functioning, right? Yeah. There are ways to cope with the stress. Yeah. Even among the psychologists, it is said, they are also most vulnerable people to experience stress, because we as psychologists, we listen a lot of traumatic experiences of people, and we don't share with anybody. It is always with us, right? And that affects. So, now, when you are exposed to such type of traumatic or continual exposure to traumatic situations, painful situations, you tend to experience mental illness or psychological imbalance. Now, let's check. I want to give a small exercise for you all. I want to check your stress level today. Fine? Are you ready for it? Yes? All right, fine. Now, what you are going to do is, I will give you 1 minute. You have to just, within 1 minute, I'll say start. That time you will, either you can close your eyes or focus on somewhere or keep your eyes open, no problem. You have to just calculate your breaths. Okay? For example, taking breath, inhaling, exhaling, 1, 2, 3. Okay, fine. Ready? 1 second. Let me fix the time. Your time starts now. Count your breaths. Okay, stop. Now, can you tell me the number of breaths you had? Anyone can just raise up your voice and tell, I had these many breaths. Yes, loud. One by one. Sir? 20, very good. 19. 16. 40. 33. 15. Okay, fine. I hear some said 50. I hope not so. 31, very good. Who is above 25? Just raise your hands. Above 35, 25, above 25. Okay. Above 20, 20, 25, between that. Okay. 15 to 20. Okay. 10 to 15. Okay. 10 to 15 is over. 5 to 10. 5 to 10. What's your number? 3? 8? 7? Below 5? Anyone below 5? No. Okay. For most of you, I have a bad news. Most of you are stressed here. You know, if you are very calm, you need to have just 6 to 8 breaths. If you're a calm person, just 6 to 8 breaths. If above 8 to 15, that means there is mild level of stress in your life right now. Okay? Some are very happy. Okay. So, breathe deep and slow. That's one of my techniques I'm going to teach you today, how to handle stress. Let's go ahead. So, stress is called by the World Health Organization the health epidemic of 21st century. That serious is stress. Okay? Now, evidence from recent research about stress among teachers. One study which was done 2017 and 2019, they said that teaching profession, there have been many casualties of stress, anxiety, and depression. Are you happy about this? Many casualties. And especially another study which happened in 2020, there are 3 studies I have cited. Beginning of pandemic, this study took place. So during lockdown, teachers have suffered from stress, anxiety, and other psychological and physical symptoms. Okay, when you have stress, it is actually seen in your physiology. You become sick. Okay. During lockdown, teachers have suffered stress. How? Because they had to adapt to new teaching ways. It's something new. So when something is new, you become anxious and worried how to do it. So that is cause. And many of them had depression and sleep disturbance. And their workload increased. And because they had to become home teachers. Because you have to teach from home, your environment is same. So there are a lot of disturbances. Another Arab study revealed that many of the teachers experience anxiety, depression, domestic violence. Domestic violence because husbands were at home. And divorce. Lot of marital conflicts. What happened then? It all restricted to be productive and effective in their teaching. Drop in productivity, one of the warning signs. Teachers also reported having workload, psychosomatic problems. That means because of your psychological health issues, you develop somatic issues, bodily issues. You have back pain, you have shoulder pain, you have stomach pain, all pains start. Okay? Headaches, nausea, vomiting, stomach upset, yes. So many have experienced emotional exhaustion, burnout, and compassion fatigue. So these are research terms used in the literature. Burnout, compassion fatigue, emotional distress. Fine. So pandemic stress has actually pushed teachers to a breaking point. Have you felt this? All are silent. That means you agree with me. Silence means you agree with me. May not be to a larger quantity. Maybe you might have experienced this type of stresses in your life. Now, what caused this stress for the teachers? Now, what causes? Actually, if you don't believe in yourself, if you have low self-efficacy, if you don't believe in your abilities, imagine, I told you, remember what I told? Mental health is you believe in your abilities. If you don't have that efficacy, self-efficacy, that is one of the things that actually causes you stress. Then stressful situations, high job demands, your students and parents' misbehavior, even online. It's called cyberbullying. I will come to that later. Poor working conditions. You don't have proper work conditions at home, in the same room. Maybe children are disturbance, in-laws are there, so many family members. It's all a disturbance. Role conflict and ambiguity. The conflict, relationship conflict among the colleagues. Then the poor school ethos and culture. Even if the institution where you're working doesn't provide you a positive work environment, also can cause you stress. Lack of developmental opportunities. Okay? So these are some of the causes. Now, COVID times, some of the challenges that you have encountered. Can you tell them? What were some of the challenges you experienced? I have noted down, according to me, what you might have experienced here. Adopting to new normal, is it so? It was something, sudden shift. There was a sudden shift from face-to-face teaching to online teaching. And you had to equip yourself with digital skills. And sudden shift from growing demands of the organization. Principal Sister Janji will tell, come on, you need to do that, so many videos, okay? So pressure, and you have so many classes and so many videos to prepare and so much content to prepare. But I heard that you all worked very hard. So a pat on your back, you did it. Yes. Monitoring student participation is also very stressful, online monitoring. Some don't appear, they put off their video and audio, and they do their work. They may be chatting with their friends. Yes? Negative comments and attitudes of parents. Cyberbullying, they post about you, those fear. So such type of fears actually make you very stressful. This online teaching really has created mental havoc in your lives, right? Time-consuming preparations. Then communication strategies, you had to learn new ways of communication, online communication strategies, and you had no training for this, right? So next thing is balancing your personal and professional lives. You are at home, so person and the professional become in the same place, so you didn't know how to balance them. So these were some of the challenges that you encountered. Now, how to deal with stress? Research shows that dealing with stress you can do two ways. One is through coping strategies, one is through prevention. Now, self-care is one of the coping strategies as well as preventive strategies. Now, what do I mean by this? You can cope with stress by taking care of yourself. I'll give you a number of examples for that. One example I would tell you, I'll share about my study. I did my dissertation study on caring for the dying and the terminally ill, experiences of Filipino hospice and palliative care professionals, doctors, nurses, and family caregivers. Not family caregivers, home health aides, the professional caregivers. So my intention was to find out what are they doing, what are their tasks, and what are some of the rewarding experiences that they have, and what are the challenges that they encounter. And they are known to care for the dying, very stressful situation, and every day they have to do that. So how do they cope up with those type of stresses? How they deal with those pain of losing their patients? So these were some of my research questions. And I will not go into everything, but what is pertaining to us, I'll tell, what is important to us. You know how the stress has impacted these professionals? Their stories revealed that they had increased physical health concerns. Many of them experienced their BP was high, they had cholesterol, they had headaches, they had back pain, they had no energy, lack of energy, and very often they used to get colds. So this happened actually just before the lockdown. I had finished my data collection last year, 2020. By February, I finished my data collection. So this is what, and it is not so far. Then second was disturbed emotional feeling. That means they used to get irritated, angry very fast. Sometimes they feel sad. They don't feel like talking to anyone. Then counterproductive behavioral changes. They started eating themselves, getting upset with people. Even one of the nurses told me when he got too much stressed out, he even took a revolver and wanted to shoot himself. That type of counterproductive behaviors. Then sacrificing personal and family time. Patients become their everything. Same thing with us. It might happen to you that physical health concern, emotional changes, your behaviors change, and you sacrifice your personal and family time. And then this all contributes to your stress. But good news is stress also can be helpful. These professionals had new learning experiences. They learn from every patient and family. There was a lot of professional and emotional and spiritual development. They build also resilience. Now, the ways of coping, I wanted to tell you, these are some of the ways of coping these professionals use, which each one of us can use. And they have found to be effective in dealing with stress. What are they? Tapping into inner and spiritual resources. I was surprised to listen from doctors, nurses, that they spend time in prayer and personal reflection. I thought only sisters and fathers pray, but they spend silent moment, just being silent and recalling the day, assessing themselves. Perspective taking. Some of them even said they do yoga and meditation. Filipinos, I was surprised, but they're into it. Perspective taking is changing the way they thought about the suffering and the stressful situations. This will move away. This can change. This is a temporary. So such type of having a broader perspective about the events can also actually way of coping with the stress. Practicing gratitude. Plenty studies have shown that if you are thankful for your life, whatever you have in your life right now can be also, can help you in coping with the stress. Then engaging in social and professional activities. You seek support from your friends, colleagues, family members. Set emotional and professional boundaries. Okay, after 10 o'clock, after 9 o'clock, or after 8 o'clock, please, no more time for my clients. No more time for students. This time is only for my family and me. Or after 10 o'clock, even no more family, it is me time. Okay, something like that. But that is too late. You have to keep it little early. Then going diverse, these professionals also not only saw patients, but they also engaged in teaching, attending, giving workshops. So they went clinically diverse. Practicing self-care, relaxing and recreational activities, going for hiking, swimming, just nature walk, such type of recreational activities they engaged in. This was one of the negative way of coping. Practicing avoidance. What did they do? Whenever they were emotionally distressed, they simply brushed it aside, or they focused their attention on other patients. That didn't help them. That created actually more stress. Now self-care. I also asked them, doctors, you are known to take care of your patients. How do you take care of yourself? And their answers brought up these themes. That is, they connected with the Supreme Source. Spirituality was important to them. Practicing self-awareness. How do they behave? What do they do? Self-awareness. Psychological decluttering. At the end of the day, they spend 10 to 15 minutes just in silence and recalling the day. And afterwards, one of the things that they did before leaving the office, they would wash their hands as if they're draining off all their stress. This is what they did. Or touching a tree or a plant before entering the house, as if the tree or the plant is sucking all the stress away. So this is how simple things they practiced. Sustaining supportive relationships. They kept in touch with their colleagues, their family members, spent some time, that helped them. Maintaining physical wellness. They went to the gym, they went for walks. Even if they did not do every day, I'll come to that later. Relaxation activities, leisure activities, reading books before sleeping, listening to white noise, listening to Tibetan chants, that also Filipinos listening. I was surprised again. Engaging in periodical self-renewing activities, attending seminars, workshops, so that they develop themselves. So teachers, remember, self-care is not selfish. It is taking care of your own self. So these professionals, they said, preventive self-care, they did not do much. That means they, on a daily basis, they did not take care. They did reactive self-care. Whenever they're stressed, they did those activities. So these were some of the things done. I think I'm exceeding little time. I'll move little fast. So dealing with emotional pain and death and grief was one of the significant contribution of this study. Now, how did they do? I think most of us also are going through similar situations. We might have lost our jobs or lost our loved ones during this pandemic, our neighbors, our students, parents. Many things, many traumatic events might have happened. So how do we deal when such type of emotional pain comes? One is adapting to spirituality, asking God to help me, to be with me. Secondly, social support. You go to your friends, share what is happening to you. Share, talk to your students and help them vent out their feelings. That's very important. Or make a call, be empathic, compassionate, and self-care is very important. Then there were, these professionals also use some cognitive tools like perspective taking, like telling that, oh, this patient suffered a lot, now he must go. he's in a better place. So such type of change of attitudes, mindset help them to cope, to reduce this emotional pain. Behavioral tools, they would light up a candle in their office for the bereaved and pray for them. Then they would gather into groups and share about the patients and be grateful to God for the life lessons this patient has taught them. So such type of rituals actually help them to address the emotional pain. There was also institutional support provided for these professionals. The institution, wherever they worked, they provided personal counseling, group debriefing. So these sessions also help them to vent out their suppressed, painful emotions. Now for you, I'll give you two important, very simple but important, how to deal with grief and loss. One is, like, you help the person who comes to you with a grief story, help that person to share with you. No, just remember, help the person to remember the loss, and then conduct a body relaxation exercise. So what happens is, when the person shares, the stress, the pain is in the body, somewhere it is there. So you have to help some relaxation technique and help the person to release this kind of deep emotions that are situated in the body. So once that is done, the emotional pain is out. Maybe it is a long session. Maybe next time I will demonstrate and show how to do it. Now I'm just giving an information for you. Second one is providing a narrative that you ask them to write down a gratitude letter or share like a story or a kind of eulogy, and then provide body relaxation exercise. And at the end, you remember this bereaved or dead person with gratitude and love, not with pain. Why she went away from me? But I'm thankful to God for giving me such a wonderful mother, such a wonderful father. So such type of gratefulness helps actually to reduce the emotional pain. Okay, this would be my last slide. I promised you I would give you certain tips to address, to combat or fight with your stress. So the first ones, the meditation, exercise, physical exercise like Zumba, maybe aerobics, maybe you can do. Nutrition, having good nutrition, good social connections, and avoiding negativity in life. Even the most negative persons, you can sometimes avoid them, just move away from them. It is healthy for you. And self-care. But to do these activities, you have to come out of your stressful, stress-inducing situation. Okay, now if you're in the, talking with the parents, you're too stressed, to do meditation, you cannot do in front of the meditation or exercise, right? So for that, I have some tips for you. Box breathing. Box breathing is nothing but you breathe in for 4 counts, hold the breath for 4 counts, and breathe out for 4 counts, and take another, hold the breath, then breathe in. So that's why it is called 4, 4, 4, 4. Fine? And if you do this just for 3 to 4 times, you are able to bring the level of your stress, reduce it immediately within 4 to 5 breaths if you do this. And you need not go out of the situation, you are there. The next interesting thing is physiological size. A lot of research is being done on this. This is nothing but 2 inhales, 1 long and 1 short inhale, and then 1 long exhale through the mouth. Okay? I don't know how to show you. For example, I'll make the sound of inhales, okay? Breathe out from your mouth. And it is said just with 1 physiological sigh, you're able to bring drastically your stress level at that moment. Now the science behind it is, when you breathe in, you take a lot of oxygen. And when you do the second breathing, a lot of oxygen goes to the sacs that are there in your lungs. And a lot of carbon dioxide is emitted when you do the long breathe out from your mouth slowly. Okay? And that's how your stress level, then the happy hormones in your chemicals are secreted, and you are able to reduce the stress level. Try doing this. And other one is deep breathing. Deep breathing, again, you take a long deep breath and breathe out from the mouth for a long time. Do you want to do it? Okay, do it. Take a deep breath. Breathe out. I have one complaint with the mask, because you don't get good oxygen. You are breathing your own carbon dioxide, which is not healthy for our mental health. But to keep ourselves healthy and others safe, we have to wear, especially during this pandemic. Fine? Yeah, these are the final tips. I have summarized all that I have told to you. You can just have a look at it. Creating the purpose, positive thinking, acts of kindness, practice mindfulness, express gratitude, identify your strengths, and practice forgiveness, very important. So thanks for listening to me. Any questions? I know you're tired of listening to me. I thought it would be around 30 minutes, but explaining it went a little long. I'm sorry for that. And I know so uncomfortable to sit with the mask and you feel sleepy, drowsy. It's natural. I do understand that part of it too. If no questions, I have an important announcement to all of you. Dear teachers, during lockdown and quarantine, it is natural that you talk to the walls, utensils and trees. It is natural, okay? So don't worry, you need not be desperate to contact me or call me. But please, please, immediately call me or come to me when you sense that the walls, utensils and the trees talk to you. Thank you.